youngest son honoree is Ms. Lesslee Fitzmorris Mitchell. Lesslee Fitzmorris Mitchell, a native of Slidell, began her show business career at a young age by organizing and producing neighborhood shows. Also, although she sought a legal career as an attorney, Fitzmorris Mitchell returned to her love of dance and production and founded 2 international events and dance cheer instruction businesses. In 1985, she produced her first pregame show at the Super Bowl, that was XX20 in New Orleans, and has since produced, directed, and choreographed the International Special Olympics closing ceremonies, an Academy Award show, 2 Emmy shows, along with countless Super Bowl pregame shows. For 17 years, she served as the manager and director of the nationally acclaimed New Orleans Saints dance team, the Saint Sations. You may have heard of them. Here's Leslie's video.
It was an ad that the Super Bowl was going to be in New Orleans. And so I decided, what the hell, I picked up the phone and called 411 and got the number for the National Football League, and I called. And he goes, yeah, well, we use big companies like Up With People, Disney, and MTV for halftime shows. But we're thinking about doing something before the game because the players warm up and then they leave, and there's dead time on the field before the players are reintroduced. We're thinking about doing a pregame show. And I said, well, you could bring the MVPs back from all the Super Bowls. You could play the #1 song. I could have girls form the score. We could show the highlights. And I just started creating on the phone. He said, well, I'm going to fly to New York, and you can present to Pete Rozelle and the committee. And so I flew up to New York, first time in New York, country come to town, not going to lie, brought my mom, whole bit, went to Windows on the World. You know, we were like, golly. And so about 3 weeks later, they called me and said, well, you've got the job. And I thought, well, okay. I thought, well, now what do I do? And he goes, you better deliver me a show. I said, I'll deliver you the show. And I think I said I'd do it for $9,000, all expenses. It ended up being like $14,000. I ate the difference. And we used everybody in St. Tammany. I built the stage here, and it was a big thing. And it was a success. And that's how my relationship with the NFL started. And then before you know it, we're employing 150 people in the parish. We're making costumes. The Saints called and said, we have our cheerleaders. Are you interested in managing them? I said, oh, I don't want those girls. And they go, no, really, we want you to do it. We want you to take a spin on it. And I decided to take them and, really encourage them to be whole human beings, not just dancing, just to use the dance as a way to mentor young women and to be able to empower them to be the best that they can be in their life. It's very important. And I look back growing up, Gardner Schneider, I am the person I am because of her, and Ronnie Cole, and Linnell Davis, and my teachers, and my community in this parish, because they believed in me, and they didn't give me limits in my beliefs of what I could do or couldn't do.
Y'all, thank you so much. This is really, truly an honor. And to be with people that I've worked with even makes it even more special. My family has been in St. Tammany Parish since 1812. In fact, I still own land that my ancestors homesteaded here in the parish. My dad was the clerk of court for 12 years. My grandfather narrowly missed the sheriff's race. My cousin Pete Fitzmorris was president of the parish. And my cousin Louis Fitzmorris was the mayor of Vita Springs, is now the assessor. And Mike and I are kind of related. It was small back then, so we all kind of were related, right? I actually am from Covington, but I grew up in Slidell because it was most popular. More people lived there. 20,000 people lived in Slidell, right? And so my dad needed to carry that into the parish politically, so it's actually a political pawn over there. But when I grew up over here in St. Tammany, we had no interstates. So if you wanted to go to New Orleans, you had to go on the 2-lane Highway 11 bridge, or God forbid, the causeway. It was 2 lanes, there was no lights, it was dark, it just didn't go that way. And when I grew up, there were no box stores to shop at. If you wanted clothes, you went to Newhouses in Slidell or Heights in Covington. And when I grew up, there were no fast food restaurants. We didn't eat out. If you ate out, you went to Bosco's in Slidell, or you went to Tony Bedoni's, and they had a musician there. That was really a good thing. Or the White Kitchen. That's where they had the political parties. And when I grew up, we didn't have swimming pools, all right? So we used the rivers and the bayous to swim, you know. And I can remember staying on the side of Bayou Bonnefican, the creosote was on the top of it, and my friend goes, well, you know, if we swim across it, we're going to get messy. I said, yeah, we're going to go under. Can you hold your breath? He goes, yeah, we can hold my breath. And we'd go under, never thinking about alligators or snakes, you know. And then we'd watch Camp Salmon, and we'd see those New Orleans people come over, and we'd laugh because they couldn't even row a canoe. And when I was a teenager, and David's going to remember this, if you were really cool, you could ski from the Tchefuncte Bridge on the Tchefuncte River in Madisonville all the way to the Bug Collider without falling. You were cool if you could do that. You know, when I grew up, everyone participated in the parish fair. I mean, you know, they either drew and submitted something, they cooked. You know, I used to barrel race. I didn't barrel race, but we needed contestants, so I barrel raced, you know. And when I grew up, everybody was part of the parade. I mean, everybody. There were more people in the parade than were watching the parade, you know. And Gardner Schneider, my mother, they started the St. Tammany Performing Arts Guild. And Pete and Chris and I, we were the, you know, worker bees. We got up there early, we set up the chairs, took up the tickets, we did the concessions, you know, and then after it was over, we sat in the audience, and if they didn't have enough people, we had to clap for the people, right, you know, and then we had to clean it up, you know. And in that time, we also had to be involved with the community show. There wasn't enough participants, and everybody was expected to pick a few flowers and put them in an arrangement and submit to that. And when I grew up, we had really neat artistic influences, you know. We look at the art of George Dunbar and try and figure out, now, what is that? You know, it's modern art, and, you know, Walker Percy, and what does that word mean? And even Louis Prima and jazz, we had to understand that. And when I grew up, we didn't order costumes from stores. You know, we went to Dutch and Peters and got the material, or the fabric store in Slidell, and we cut it out, and we glued it, and we, you know, glued the sequins on. You know, when I grew up, you know, we pitched in for school plays and choir performances and Mardi Gras floats and little theater. We were expected to participate, to decorate, to be in the audience and clap for each other. And when I grew up here, when integration came, we didn't pull out of public schools. We stayed in public schools and learned from each other. But don't kid yourself. We all got along, but we were competitive as hell. Don't kid yourself. The biggest day of the year was when Covington played Mandeville or Covington played Slidell, and everybody showed up. In fact, we were so competitive that when I was in 7th grade, I counted, I lost 20 times. I ran for student council, I lost. I ran for cheerleader, I didn't get that either. I decided I'd go for majorette, didn't get that either. So then I decided that I would play the bells in the band. I did not get that. Tried the science fair, didn't win. Math competition, didn't get that. Hung math, didn't get that. Talent show, I played classical piano, Linnell Davis taught me, and lost to someone that pantomimed. Went to the school fair, didn't get the cakewalk. I had to make the Slidell Junior High dance team to have something that I could participate in. But in that process, I learned that failure was good because life was forging me into where I needed to be. My father's advice at that time was, no matter where you go in this world, you're going to find somebody taller than you and shorter than you. I just said, you are kidding. There's nobody taller than me. He said, I swear. You're going to find somebody richer than you, poorer than you, smarter than you, dumber than you. And you know what? You be happy for who you are and what you have, because you will be successful in what you do. He also gave me another piece of advice. When I was at the school dances, and nobody asked me to dance because I was taller than all the boys, and this changed my life. He said, if you want to know, be interested in boys and people, you got to talk two things, football and fishing. He would take me to the Saints game, he would say, okay, that's a draw play, that's a post pattern, okay, that's a blitz, and I'd go back to school and go, oh my gosh, did you see Billy Kilmer? He did that thing. And all of a sudden, all the boys were interested, you know? And when I went out on a date, it was, you know, you got Church's chicken, a 50-cent movie theater pass, and then you went parking. You know, and the guy come in for the kiss, and I go, oh, look, the constellation, it's the Delta of Orion, right? You know? And during those difficult times, like everybody has when they're a teenager and growing up, I would climb a tree. I'd listen to the wind, or I walked in the woods, or paddled down the bayou to kind of sort things out. And when I grew up, art and nature was in nature and in my community everywhere. And in that stillness and in that quiet of this little country parish, I was able to dream. And I mean dream. I dreamed big and I imagined big, and there were no boundaries. As my dance teacher, Gardner Schneider, said to me, she said, "You never asked why, you asked why not." You know, when I was in law school, people used to make fun of me growing up. Even at LSU when I was a Golden Girl, and say, "Oh, you're from the country. You're from the country." And they'd say, "Why are you driving over 4 nights a week to go to law school? You should move over to New Orleans." And I'd say, "Why in the world would I want to live in New Orleans?" It just didn't make any sense to me. And what happened is I realized that I am who I am because the people and places of my parish. When my father died the day before we went to college, I was 17. My mother had no life insurance. He died in office. I was forced to go to LSU because I was the first Golden Girl ever selected to the parish. And I remember everybody came around and supported me. And I had the dream to start my dance team business, and the schools here supported me. And I started Mandeville High School's dance team. I helped Mountain Blue start their dance team. And before you know it, my company just took off. And one thing led to the other. You know, I never took no for an answer, but I couldn't have made it without the people and the experiences that I had in this parish. You know what? I traveled the world. I've met famous people from all over, and they go, "Oh my God, you're from New Orleans." I said, "Oh no, I'm not from New Orleans. I'm from St. Tammany Parish." And they go, "Where's that?" I said, "Let me show you on a map where it is. And when you get to New Orleans, why don't you call?" So when Katie called me, I have to tell you, my daughter just had her 3rd child, and I was in Sarasota, and the phone rings. It says St. Tammany Parish. I thought, "Oh God, what do I have to do? What kind of test do I need at the hospital?" That's what I thought. I thought, did I forget something here? And she told me about this award. And I have to tell you, it brought me true joy. I mean, how many times do you get to feel real, true joy? You know, begin to reflect on my past. You know, and when I was real little, just real quick, I was like 9 years old, and I wanted to do a Mardi Gras parade. And so I got all the kids in the neighborhood to get their wagons, and then the guys pulled the mini bikes, and I did the theme. We're going to sing Paper Roses. We're going to do this, and we decorated them all. And I wanted the fire chief, I wanted a fire truck and a police officer. My dad said, "Well, you have to go down there and ask them." So I rode my bike down there and asked him, "I'm having a parade through Teddy Avenue, and it's going to be Saturday. Can you bring the fire truck and the policeman?" And I go, "I don't know about that." And they showed up. And I couldn't believe it. It was my first directing responsibility. You know, people said I was bossy my whole life. I might be true. But the people that challenged me in this parish, they challenged me the best that I could be, and they lifted me up in my times of despair. And I realized that I got to where I got to because of the parish, the people and the experiences. You know, they say all roads lead home, and that's exactly how I feel it's true. You know, when I do a show and there's 80,000 people and millions of people watching, everybody's applauding, "Yay! You know, it's great, it's a great job." But when your own people tell you good job, it's like your parents saying, "We're proud of you." And that's how I feel about this award. Really, thank you. I'm very humbled, and I thank you so much for this award.